Hello and welcome to the Voice of Intuition podcast. My name is Susan Jane and I believe that trusting your intuition is the best way to live your life with meaning and purpose. Each week you will hear about how you can connect, develop and trust your intuition through the wonderful array of guests we have on the show and my own personal experiences. Join me to understand how your intuition can guide you towards a life full of meaning and loving purpose. Hello and welcome to the Voice of Intuition podcast. I'm Susan Jane and I'm your host for the podcast. Now, today I've got to put out a little bit of a warning just to start us off with, because I do want to actually go through and do an exercise with you. So there could be more of a meditative state happening as we learn to take control of our energy and we can cut those negative ties that we have. So today is about going a little bit deeper into that aspect of it. So let us begin. Now, we know that energy ties are in those invisible connections that we form with others. They play a very strong role in our emotional, mental and spiritual well-being. Now, these ties, again, they can have both a positive and a negative effect on us. So it's your intuition that's going to help you recognize what those tools are and how you can actually navigate those ties. Sorry, not ties, not tools. So the positive, we always have positive connections too. Now, you'll know the positive ones. It's like when when you first meet somebody and you have that, oh, they're really nice. You have that lovely deep bond, that lovely deep connection with them. That's that positive connection. Sometimes when you're in the romantic relationship and you're just having some of those moments, they're those beautiful positive connections that you have. Watching your children play, watching your grandchildren play, and you sort of, have a little bit of a laugh and a little bit of a giggle, and they're those beautiful positive ties that go. They're really uplifting for both parties. When you have a little giggle at your grandchild and because they're doing a dance for you or something to that effect, it lifts them up as well because they can see that you're engaged with them. So these connections will nurture us, they'll inspire us, and they'll enrich our lives. So those positive connections are really, really important. And of course, we can get positive and negative connections from the one person or the one area or the one environment. But on the other hand, we have other aspects of it that are just completely negative. Now, when you're experiencing them, you will find yourself feeling quite drained, manipulated, really uneasy. There's times there when I've sort of met somebody and I go, oh, I don't know, they gave me a weird vibe. I don't feel comfortable with them. Something they may have said, something they may have done, just triggers you to go, it doesn't quite feel right, That's your intuition kicking in. That's those negative energy ties attaching themselves. Okay, so when you've got those there, they're the things that we want to look at today. They're the things that we want to cut. Basically, we want to cut or control. Now, negative ties can persist even after relationships are finished, especially romantic ones. So past relationships, areas like that. So what happens with them is when you think about a past relationship, which you're probably just all doing while I'm saying that, while you're thinking about a past relationship. Now, some of them can be positive and they're fine, but some of them can be negative, and you will find that they will cause you to go a bit flat when you think about it. When you sort of think about that person, you can tend to go a little bit flat, a little bit angry, a little bit negative. You start to go a little bit down. Now, the biggest issue we have nowadays is because we can often see them on social media. So you start to see things on social media and it starts to drop you. They're negative energy ties that we no longer need. Okay, these are the things that we're going to be looking at today. So the key to managing these connections lies in recognizing their nature and taking deliberate action to maintain your energy balance. Okay, it's all about you. You can't do anything about them. It's all about you. And the main thing about this, of course, is trusting your intuition, which is, what I'm all about. It's all about identifying those ones, understanding the negative ones, and trying to either sever them, cut them, or reduce them. And sometimes when we're listening to our intuition, we're receiving those messages. They may seem a little bit strange and unexpected. When I first started doing this, the powers sort of not emails, podcasts. The message I first got through was really quite different to what I've experienced before. In fact, I don't think it was my intuition. I still believe it was more of a collective, so more of a council or collective or a team or a group. So there was definitely more than, it wasn't one piece of information. It was like I felt like I was getting it from a few other areas. So it was very, very strange. It was very different to me for the first time. But I know that there was a deeper meaning behind it, and which is why I went ahead and did the podcast. I restarted the podcast because I hadn't done it for 12 months. I was a little bit lost with it all. But when this information came through so strong, I felt I needed to bring it forward. The other aspect that surprised me when I did first receive this information is they said, you're only going to get this one until you have got through this. And at first it was like, oh, well, I'll do that very quickly. You know, I'll do a couple of podcasts, get it out there and we're done. But of course, Christmas, New Year, everything else started to fall into place. This actual email, this writing I've had written, the blog I've had written for over 3 weeks now. I wanted to do it 2 weeks ago, but life just got in the way. So I understand now why they said I won't get any more messages until this has been done, until I have done this to the best of my ability. Now, today I'm talking about cutting the energy connections, but not all of them need to be cut. Some of them just need to be controlled. And we will go through that a bit later on. Maybe in another one. I'm not sure where I'm going. I'm just going with the flow here. So it's about trusting that the messages that we're receiving and it's going with the flow a little bit. Yeah, going with the flow. But look, there's a quiz on the website, intuitivenature.com.au. It's Australian business. There's a little quiz on the website, and that will help you understand what is your strongest intuitive nature. So what you naturally how you gather that information naturally, whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually, because we gather them in different ways. So this message that I got about the powers was definitely more of a spiritual way. So we can look at psychics, clairvoyance, and that sort of aspect, channelers. That's more of a psychic way of receiving the information. So jump on the website and have a look at that. But what I want to do now is also understand that the more that you engage in this process and trust it, the details will emerge and the more effective and transformative your work with energy ties will become. So I want you to practice this. This is not usually a one-off thing, okay? This is something that I have often repeated, and nowadays you can repeat it really quickly. I'm going to go through it slowly so you can get the message through it, but often you can go through it really, really quickly. Okay. So we're going to be cutting the energy connections that drain you. Okay, so the first thing we need to look at is identifying which ones are draining you and which ones aren't draining you. Now, sometimes that is not always easy to determine, but because I've just been talking about past relationships, maybe you've got something there that we could look at. You know, there may be a past relationship there that you sort of go, you know, they upset me still when I see them on social media. If they're still upsetting you, there's still a connection. If you still have feelings for them, that's the connection there. And there's areas there that you can address and you can sever. I did a reading recently for a lady, and I said to her, "You've got very strong ties with this person. They are really not interested in you. You need to sever those ties." Because all that's doing is drowning you and putting your focus in the wrong space. She did not like that. I had to sort of back off a little bit. And she sort of said, I've tried everything and I've done everything and they're meant to be my connection. And that's when I sort of go, well, you know, there's something there that is not right. And it's a lot deeper than she was prepared to go at that particular stage. And again, that's fine. If we can't do that, that's fine too. But let's start with being aware that there is something there. And maybe we can start to look at some of those ties. When I first started doing this, I had a strong, obviously a very strong tie, very strong connection to my ex-husband. It took quite a few sessions to be able to completely sever that. I can see, speak, be with him. Everything else, there's no connection there in that context. The only connection there is of a positive manner, no more negatives. So it allows me now to be in the presence of him without having those negative connotations. I can still see him for what he is, and I can still, some of the words that he says reminds me of those past times, but now I can go, there's a trigger, and guess what? I am not responding to that trigger. That means those negative ties have been severed. Okay, so we can keep the positives, but remove the negatives. So identifying the source is the first thing. So consider some of the ties that you may be linked to. It could be family, friends, or co-workers, even past relationships. Now, some of these connections, again, could be ongoing. You may be having trouble with somebody at work. And so you have to maintain those relationships. But what we're doing is we're going to sever the negative aspect of them and try and keep the positive. Okay, so this is where we need you, we as in you, I don't know where we came from, but this is where you need to be letting your imagination go a little bit wild, because again, what we think comes from our brain, what we imagine comes from our spirit, because we can only imagine what our spirit has experienced prior in other dimensions, in other lives, in other aspects. So it's our imagination. The stronger you are and the better you are with your imagination, the better you're going to have this aspect. So if you do want to go into a little bit of even close your eyes and just go into that little bit of state, please don't be driving your car if you're doing this. I want you to start to think about just one that we can look at the moment, one that's really been bugging you at the moment. There's some connections there that are not working well. They may be irking you. They may be irritating you, because what I want to do is we want to remove the negative part of it, not the connection completely. We want to remove the negative component of it. Okay, we've identified somebody there, so you've got something in mind there. The next thing I want you to do now is this is where we're just going to calm a little bit down, and we're just going to sit, maybe close your eyes, like you said, just relax a little bit. And I want you to mentally scan your body. And I wanted you to try and get an understanding of what this particular connection, we're going to have lots of them, they're all over our body. But I want this particular connection that we've talked about, that we've just identified, I want you to determine where that is coming from. Now, scan your body, or not coming from, or coming to, I should say. Where is that connected to you? How is that connected to you? Okay, just focus on that one tie at a time, just this one. And I want you to really focus on what it looks like, where it's connected, how it's connected, what it looks like. Now, I'm asking you to do this because different connections will require a different cutting tool or a different way of cutting that connection. Because again, how it looks to you will look different to everyone else. For me, it felt like almost like an octopus leg or arm or tentacle. It almost looked like that from my ex-husband, and it was coming in right at the base of my spine. And it was drawing my energy. The negative part of it was drawing my energy out. Other ones I've seen are almost like light. Other ones are more like hollow tubes, like a garden hose. So there's no right or wrong here. The main thing is, if you're using your intuition, if you're using your imagination for this, then you are allowing yourself to sever the tie in your way, not in anybody else's way. This is all about you. So just determine where it is coming into your body, what it actually looks like, how big it is. What is it? What do you see it made of? Because all these things are really important. And if you want to, you can jot that down. But for the time being, let's just keep on going. And I want to focus on that one. Now, what is it doing to you? Is it thick? Is it smooth? Is it rough? What is it doing? Is it moving? Is it changing areas? Is it really strongly connected? Is it almost growing on you? Look at all those different things there. The closer the relationship, usually the bigger the connection, usually the more ingrained the connection is into you. All these sorts, that's why we focus on the big ones at the first, because they're the main ones. The others, you can imagine a big opening like a big pipe will drain a lot more of your energy than a small garden hose. So, really get an understanding of what it looks like. That's really important for that. Okay, we've got a good visual of that one, got a good understanding of that one. Okay, now I want you to visualize a way to cut that tie. Now, some people may only need scissors. Some people may need a knife. Scissors make a clean break, a knife for precision cutting. Some people may use a chainsaw because it's something stronger entrenched. Somebody may get the old axe out. They may be a bit more old school and want to chop it down like that with an axe. Some people use laser beams. Some people use whatever you can imagine. There's no right or wrong. It will determine on what it looks like. Okay, so if it looked really woody, a knife will not cut it. If it looks like an octopus skin, a knife will cut it. If you want to really trash it, then you could almost burn it away. It doesn't matter what you do and how you do it. What matters is that in your mind, you've been able to see this particular thing, and in your mind, you have been able to sever this particular thing. Okay, because I could turn around and say, oh, it looks like this, and you cut it like that. But if it doesn't feel right for you, then it's not going to work. That's why you need to see it yourself in your imagination, and you need to see how you can cut it in your imagination, because that's your intuition kicking in. When you have found your tool, I want you to proceed to cut, sever, hack, destroy, whatever you need to do, but cut that tie. Cut that tie. Now, again, this may not be as clear as taking a pair of scissors and cutting. It may not be as clear as taking a chainsaw, because you can imagine the mess that's left after the chainsaw. And that's okay. It doesn't matter about any of that, because we're going to look at that in a minute. All I want you to do is sever that tie in the best way you can, and be mindful of what you see left, because what you see left is what we need to work on next. When I first did mine, I did cover it, but there was this big, like, bulgy bit at the end, like it looked like I had a tail, because I didn't want to cut too close to me. So I cut further away, and then I've got this bulgy thing that I needed to fix from there. Another time I cut the hose, but as I cut this hose, my energy started draining out. So I needed to put a tap on it and close it up for a bit until I could heal that spot. So again, it's only our imagination, but because we're imagining it, because we're setting that intention, this is how we're getting through it. This is how we're severing those ties. Okay, after we've gone through that, now what you've got left. Some people may only have a very slight, somebody might have been used a knife and have had a very, very clean area of cutting. And all they need to do then is to apply maybe some cream over it, some protective energy over it, so the area will heal. Some people, I know I put some padding around mine, and I put drawing ointment on it in my mind, and I drew away all the rest of the goo that was there that was attached to me. And that was my imagination. In doing that, I set that intention. So how are you going to visualize closing that wound? How are you going to surround that with protective energy? And protective energy is as simple as white light. This is your imagination. This is your intuition. This is how you need to put it forward. So once you have severed it, I need you to clean that area up and protect that area, because that's really important for you. We don't want it attaching again. We need to have some sort of a little bit of a barrier there, because it is likely to attach if it's a strong connection. And as I said, you'll be able to repeat this technique as often as you like. The other aspect is, if this was, say, an ex-partner and you do then see them on social media and it doesn't affect you as much, you know that the severing has worked. If it's still affecting you really strongly, you need to keep going back in and keep on severing it, okay? It can reattach. It can keep on reattaching. And it's up to you to be setting that intention that you want it severed and you want it gone and you want it healed. This is about your intention. This is about how you do this. So again, the technique can be repeated as often as you need to. The energy ties can reconnect or new ones can be formed. So regularly scan your body, because they could come in different ways. Some of them definitely hit your heart. If they hit the heart area, oh, that's really challenging. You'll need to work on that quite a bit. So there's those areas there. Another area I used to work on was the big glass bubble. Not the glass bubble. I don't know if you're old enough to remember Maxwell Smart, but that was one of the other ones that I looked at. I used to put the what was it, the cone of silence over me, and I would, slam that down. But I find that working on the separate areas has created a better result. Okay, I didn't want to, like the bubble for protection is fantastic, but it cuts everybody out too. And I didn't want to do that, because I had some lovely positive connections with my ex-husband. I mean, I've got 3 beautiful children, so I've got some lovely positive connections, and I didn't want to sever all those. I only wanted to sever those negative ones, the ones that I felt were draining me. And that's what I've done there. So while we can sever those energy ties that we don't need, some others may just need to be restricted. So in the next blog and podcast, I'm going to explore how you can limit these connections. It's similar to what we've done. It's just done in a different way. And what I would like you to do, and why I'm not giving you more all at once, I don't want to, have you keep coming back, but I do want you to get better at being able to sever those ties before we move on to the next part. And before we move on to that connection. So what you're looking at is, again, the negative aspect of it, and just looking at those side of it. We're going to look at more in the coming podcasts. But that is it for today. Jump onto my website, intuitivenature.com.au. And have a play with the quiz. It's really quite fun. It just gives you an understanding of what your strongest intuitive messages, how your messages come through. So that may help you in that context as well. Again, sever those ties. To start with, I liked doing the journaling. I really love journaling. It gave me a bit of an understanding. But if you're not into journaling, jump onto your calendar and just say, hey, today I severed this tie. I want to see how it feels. Just give yourself, what it does, it allows you to see your growth in your strength and your intuition. That's what's really the main thing. You will be actually growing your intuition a lot quicker than you anticipated, but you don't know that until you can actually see your base data and work from there and move forward. So that is it from me today. I hope you've enjoyed I hope you try it. You've got to try it. That's your homework. You've got to try it. All the very best. Have a great week. Enjoy yourself. Stay safe. And more than anything else, stay happy. I'm Susan Jane. Bye for now.